All right, folks, we're going to get started here in just a minute. A few quick reminders. Coffee stations are only available until 4 p.m. today, so you got about an hour and 2 minutes left to get your caffeine fix. And then if you need to take a break from the day's events, please stop by the bar and chill out space sponsored by Run Zero. 2 complimentary drink tickets were provided to you at registration. We already paid for them, so please use them. Both NA and alcoholic drinks are available. There are prayer and mother's rooms for those who need it. Please see the info desk staff upstairs for people who would be happy to help guide you there. And Opal is sponsoring headshots all day right outside of the talk tracks by concessions. Go get a new headshot for your LinkedIn. Please note that headshots end at 5 p.m. today. And without further ado, Dom and Matt are going to start their talk titled Everyday AI, Leveraging LLMs for Simple, Effective Security Automation. Take it away, guys.
All right. Afternoon, everyone. My name is Dominic Zanardi. I'm a member of the infrastructure security team at Instacart. And joining with me on stage is Matt Sullivan, our former team lead who's since transitioned to Figma. So thanks for coming to learn about everyday AI, and a special thanks to BSidesSF Program Committee for giving us the opportunity to share this with you. We have a lot to share today, and everything you see has been open sourced. Links will be provided throughout the presentation, so take a look at the shortcuts in the bottom left of every example slide. We want to encourage everyone to follow along, so if you have your laptop out, go ahead and navigate through some of the solutions we've built. So over the past 18 months, we've been on a journey to leverage LLMs to substantially scale our security program.
And scale them in some ways.
And scare them, yeah. Both. By using LLMs, we've unlocked this next level of automation, a level that surpasses what's possible with deterministic code. At the same time, as a security team, we like to lead by example, staying mindful of guardrails and the types of data that we're sending up to these providers. So we're here to provide some tips and tricks on how to play it safe.
So today we're here to advocate for a methodology of scaling security through LLMs, and in ways that some people might find a bit alarming. The fact is, though, security team surface area keeps widening, but budgets and headcount are not. How many times have we grumbled, oh, things would be easier with just 2 more headcount? Surely nobody has ever thought that in this room before. We must automate to keep up, and LLMs have helped the team at Instacart do just that. Today's talk highlights some of the work that we've done to specifically automate in the gray areas in which automation was previously impractical because of non-deterministic inputs. We hope to inspire you, but also send you home with real-world code to play with and utilize within your own organizations. Some of the automations are specific to Instacart's vendors and tech stack, so please be aware that you'll need to tailor some of these solutions to your own technologies. Finally, we're here to take a strong stance against fear, uncertainty, and doubt in security use cases and Gen AI. Dom and I have heard all of the excuses, from vendors to auditors to thought leaders on LinkedIn who haven't touched code in 2 years. We dismiss these concerns wholesale and assert that when built, tested, and monitored properly, automations like these are much better than just relying on human expertise alone.
All right, let's talk about getting started. And I promise we won't take too long on this, since many of you are already past the we're trying things phase. Our most important lesson here is don't be intimidated. Playing around with LLMs and security actually has a low barrier to entry. We'll detail more on that in a moment. The beauty of using LLMs is that they're flexible. For years, we've built security tooling to reach a conclusion of these strict Booleans, what is true and what is false. Now we get not only the helpful decision, but the great reasoning behind it. So we'll take away 3 pieces of guidance. Simple things can be built with only a few sentences. When code is actually needed, it's only typically a few lines of Python, or you can find the same level of success using a no or low code solution. And 3, you can let the automation QA itself simply by using additional calls. So you might be asking yourself, how do we actually plug an LLM into existing processes? This might be especially true if you aren't a full-time software engineer. But at Instacart, we use 2 methods to utilize LLM responses in production. The first is the classic choice, pure Python running on a Lambda or a hosted Docker container, pulling in the OpenAI library or just the plain old request library. The second option is to use a workflow builder as middleware. At Instacart, we use Tines as a SOAR platform. You might hear us mention Tines throughout the presentation because some of these examples are Tines-based. This is because we know this platform well, and they offer a community-based free edition, which will allow you to import our examples and play with them. Matt, how do you feel about these new models?
The new models? I feel great about the new models. Look at these shiny new models. These new models have been coming with some really exciting abilities, and every upgraded version seems to add something new that makes them that much more useful for security tooling. We wanted to provide you with a toy automation that you could immediately start playing with, so we've created this dead simple Tines workflow that checks the weather. We've shared it on GitHub so that you can import it into Tines later and play with it. This toy app uses OpenAI to search the internet for current weather conditions in any city. This ability to search the internet for information via OpenAI's API is only a few weeks old. Tines and workflow builders like it have the ability to be invoked by webhooks and to return JSON responses. That means that you can create your own REST APIs powered by LLMs in just a few minutes. So the URL on the left is the code for this workflow, and the URL on the right is the REST API endpoint if you have any interest in trying it out. It's fun to imagine a possibility here it's fun to imagine the possibilities here. Your automations suddenly have the ability to browse the internet, and it unlocks some really incredible opportunities. This is especially true in the realm of detection and response. Obviously, I'm excited about the opportunities here, but at the same time, Dom and I are very clear-eyed about what LLMs and AI actually achieve today. Many companies, especially in technology, believe that AI should be making every software engineer quadruple their output, and Dom and I are here to unequivocally state that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen unless you've already invested in great quality and great hygiene. The same is true for applying the technologies to your security program. We started from a high-quality base and built further from there. And this fact is what has allowed us to experience a bit of an AI revolution within our security program. But make no mistake, you must crawl, then walk, then run. It is an extremely exciting time to be working in this space, though. Over the past few months, flagship LLM models have expanded their context windows so much that now we're able to process hundreds of IAM statements at once in a single shot and be able to reason through very complex changes and refinements. Preview, you're going to see some of those in a second. We believe that in 3 years, an entire company's code base might fit within the maximum context window of a flagship model, and that unlocks some really exciting opportunities.
Make no mistake, we didn't think that AI was simply cool, so we're finding a solution in search of a problem. Far from it. Our team was experiencing real pain points around human identity security. The common theme in our problem space revolved around volume. Tens of roles, hundreds of daily access requests, thousands of employees, millions of permissioned objects. Does that sound familiar? How could a human ever possibly perform identity engineering at scale? So LLMs have become our force multiplier. We're going to look at how a few simple but high-impact examples of an Instacart will solve issues that had previously been proven hard to correct.
Have you ever experienced an access approval sitting for days on end while your manager gallivants around South America trying to find their truest self? At Instacart, we've built an access control program in which 95% of requests that are issued through identities. We have built an access control program in which 95% of access requests made through the identity governance tool are auto-approved with no human intervention. And for more on that, feel free to catch the recording of our upcoming RSA talk, Time's Up on Standing Access, or if you happen to have an RSA ticket, catch us on Monday morning at 9. For the remaining 5% of requests that we aren't fully able to automate, we still want to have a really excellent user experience, including in situations where an approver may be out of office for a period of time. Can we use AI to improve the experience of these forsaken few that slip through the cracks? Of course we can. And this is a perfect example of using LLMs with a really simple no-code platform as well. Because Instacart has a flexible time-off policy, our source of truth for who is available largely comes down to their Slack status. We realized pretty early on that we could run an LLM evaluation against the Slack status message and reason through the likelihood that the approver will be available to take an approval or denial action. This works for obvious cases like I'm on vacation, but believe it or not, it actually works really well for less obvious cases, such as, and this is true, a emoji of just the skiing emoji person. In addition, these statuses can now be dynamically assessed for duration. For example, out of surgery is much more likely to extend beyond out for lunch. More importantly, I thought of this idea at about 10 in the morning, and it was in production by lunch. That is the true power of using no-code tools plus LLMs. Dom is going to take us through a bit more of a complex example where user behavior is less ideal.
These complex challenges are where Instacart's really seeing the benefits of custom-built AI tooling. For a long time, security practitioners and infrastructure professionals alike have had to assess user requests for various cloud resources. Sometimes you get a good justification statement with a paragraph of detail, a full resource ARN, a basket of freshly made cookies, but more often you get, yes, this is a real request.
What bucket? The one you fill with excuses to your auditor if this request gets fulfilled.
The fact is, users aren't always familiar with the environments, the roles, and the effective permissions in between. Let's imagine a request that says, I need to read from the orders table. Can we use AI to determine if the user is requesting the most appropriate role for this need? In order to do that, we need to do a few things. We need to translate the resource that's being requested. So they asked, I need to read from the orders table. Okay, what is table in an AWS environment? Is it a DynamoDB table? Is it an RDS database table? Does it exist? Have they spelled it correctly? And what environment are they referring to? This all takes time, and the traditional automation methods can only do so much fuzzy matching. Now we can take an LLM, send limited contextual data, and identify the most likely match in seconds. But what about after resource identification? The question then becomes, what roles is this person eligible for? This multitude of steps could take hours depending on the complexity of the situation. Instead, by using LLMs, we get an answer in seconds, one that can be piped directly to the user at the moment they make the request. Let's see this in action. I'm requesting a role that I have a need for, but that isn't well aligned with my job function. With LLMs, we can propose the policy as code changes needed to get me going and then raise that for human review. When you have conditional policy as code, these assessments can now be made in seconds, and the final decision, the merging of that PR, is where we keep the human in the loop. You want to tell them about how we maintain roles moving forward?
I would love to tell them about how we maintain roles moving forward. Except for I can't get the slide to advance. You can do it. I believe in you, slide deck. Is that? Not going. There we go. All right. We've created an automated capability to remove unused permissions from roles that are defined in Terraform. To be clear, we're aware there are a plethora of security vendors who are willing to provide this functionality of cutting out unused privilege. However, very few, if any, to our knowledge, support doing that on a long-term basis by fixing the issue at the source, by modifying the Terraform where it lives. So we created an intimate end-to-end automation that allows us to schedule runs quarterly and requires much less subject matter expertise in reviewing CloudTrail data or in role engineering. Fully automated? Fully awesome. I'm liking what the outputs from the LLMs do for us, but what considerations do we need to make about the outputs going in? Dom?
Thanks. So LLMs know the cloud, but they don't know you. Many LLMs know every major cloud provider's IAM structure inside and out, but they don't know your org or the data within. So it can be tempting to overfeed it with context, but be careful. Do your custom IAM policies include user email addresses? Is it necessary to provide actual account identifiers? Probably not. So we need to sanitize what we're sending in. We know you know, but just as a reminder, tokenize your PII, names, emails that might be within, with nonce values, and reverse those on the return. In this way, no sensitive information is sent to the LLM, only random identifiers. Consider using a library such as Microsoft Presidio to help you with this task. And as far as prompt injection, keep in mind if you're going to allow direct user input, the output of the LLM should be considered untrusted. We only take user input sourced from other applications. Basically, we're creating glue from one platform and using it on another, as you saw with the IGA justification statement. If you have dedicated platforms with user inputs, use those mature platforms to your advantage. Companies have spent years working on input sanitization, so we don't need to reinvent the wheel. Again, there shouldn't be a need for a user's open-ended direct input into an LLM API.
But what if the LLM hallucinates? It's happening less with each new model, but it's still a risk. So sanity checking and the levels of sanity checking kind of depend on the use case. For the Slack use case we talked about earlier, the stakes are pretty low. If the LLM misreads an approver status, the approval just sits a bit longer, or maybe it gets bumped, but there's no real harm. We do believe it's important to keep a human in the loop for more advanced cases. From both an audit and an operational standpoint, in our humble opinion, we haven't arrived at the point of handing over critical decision-making to an LLM. Our recommendation is to let the LLM provide better context and recommendation, and then you or your deterministic code base need to be making the final decision. When it comes to our comfort level about letting the robots run free, we've generally decided to automate everything up to the point of merging a PR. Generating code? Go for it. Creating a branch? Fire away. Pull requests? Sure. But merging a PR? That's a full stop. So, this is your call to action. If you haven't started building end-to-end solutions with these technologies, now is a great time. The tooling is ready. Identify the pain points, think big, collect metrics, be ruthless in using LLMs to design solutions that make your users happy and their experiences with security enjoyable, and keep security safe, keep your organization more secure in the process. Use AI to do in one API call what it used to take an experienced engineer a day to build. Embrace this once-in-career opportunity that we have and go make something. With ID Toolbox specifically, we have published all of the solutions that we've discussed here, and we will continue to develop solutions and publish them to that location. We encourage you to take a look and to contribute. That is all we have for today. Thank you so much for joining us. At this time, we have about 10 minutes for questions.